Good morning and welcome to Morning Movie News, where as we get closer to the summer movie season, comic book movie stories begin to heat up once again. And in fact, every story today has something to do with that space. And the first one is that a member of the cast of Black Panther has already gotten a follow-up gig, and Lupita Nyong'o is first out of the gate. I wouldn't have expected that. I mean, I have a lot of respect for Lupita Nyong'o, but I felt that her Nakia was one of the more understated performances in the movie, and I don't believe that she's gotten this new gig entirely on her Black Panther performance. I think the Queen of Katwe factors in there quite a bit, as it should. But let me start out by telling you what project she has gotten. A number of you saw the headline yesterday. A number of you tweeted it to me excitedly. And that's that she's going to star in Trevor Noah's biography, the host of The Daily Show, called Born a Crime, and she will play his mother, an integral part of his life. What a story! Apparently, and I'm sure you're aware that segregation has been extremely intense in South Africa, and it's something I think that is still in play there. Certainly when Trevor Noah was growing up, where it was a crime for someone from the Black community and white community there to have children. So for the early years in his life, apparently Trevor Noah was hidden by his mother. And then in 2009, she was shot by his stepfather in the head as she left church, but survived. So that sounds like an incredible story and an incredible role. And really very nice of Trevor Noah to do this for his mother, to call attention to her, someone who clearly is a very special person, not only to him, but I just think and what she's overcome, and could be, I think, very inspirational to many. Now, the reason I mentioned Queen of Katwe is that's the movie. I know she won her Oscar for 12 Years a Slave, but Queen of Katwe, and it's a shame so few people saw it, but that's the movie where I was like, wow, Lupita Nyong'o is an amazing actress, because her performance there is not only so real and nuanced and layered. That's one of the reasons I said I felt that she was the most the closest to Meryl Streep's capability of actresses working today. But a lot of you didn't believe me because you haven't seen the Queen of Katwe. And a big part of also that was that her performance was so different than 12 Years a Slave. A lot of times actors will have like a specialty, and that's what they do in all their movies, or most of their movies. But Lupita Nyong'o has range. So I guess in some ways I wish that she'd been pushed further in Black Panther. Her character eventually becomes a villain in the comics. Maybe I don't think that's what they're going to do, because Marvel doesn't do that. But it would be nice, because she could certainly pull it off. But I'm very happy that she's landed this role. And because of Queen of Katwe, not Black Panther, I know she will do an amazing job. Trevor Noah is producing, and I think this could be a very strong awards contender. There's so many messages that Oscars like to celebrate. I don't think we've done single moms, so I think that that could be well, not single so much, I'm sure, for a large part of her life, but I think this is something that the awards voters could really get behind. Now, speaking of moms, you might have seen this morning trending on Twitter, Disney SMMC, and been like, what the heck is that? That was my reaction. So I clicked on it. These days, if there's Disney anything, you want to know what's going on, especially if you're in the media. And it stands for Social Media Moms Convention. So apparently, they've invited a whole bunch of media moms down to the Disney World Resort in Orlando for a convention to show off all their upcoming projects, including movies and television, but also their theme park editions, which now these days factor in a lot of movies and television. For instance, the new Star Wars land and Toy Story land. And, it's a powerful group of moms. They got it trending, right? It's trending like toward the middle. That's pretty impressive. But what's interesting is that these moms work very well in volume. If you actually click on them, they don't have I've been researching this and I'll tell you why. They actually don't have a lot of followers individually. But Disney goes, again, for bulk. So they get a ton of social media moms and they build them into a little army. Actually, quite a big army. And I think this is very interesting. It first got my attention that Disney was doing this for the Marvel premieres. They invite moms to get access that is incredibly, usually wouldn't be granted to people with such few followers. But again, Disney packages them together and gives them a whole weekend experience. Like, for instance, with Black Panther, they not only took them to the Black Panther premiere, but they also, got them excited about the Coco digital and Blu-ray release. And I think there was one other thing that they wrapped in there as well. But, if Disney's paying to fly all these moms to California, they want to get their money's worth. So they have them push a number of projects. And the idea is that these moms will then say, oh, that looks great. And then they'll go to all their followers, well, their small amount of followers, but still, other moms and say, this is great for your family with kids. And it's very, very smart. And I've been thinking, why doesn't Warner Brothers do this? And I believe I might have even brought it up before. And I think that, Warner Brothers might say, well, our movies aren't as family friendly as Disney's. Well, Black Panther was pretty darn adult, and that didn't stop Disney from pushing it hardcore with moms either. And I think, also you could argue, well, the Disney brand is very close with families already, right? A lot of people take family vacations to Disney World. They have a lot of family-friendly brands, even outside of Marvel and Star Wars, right? But you can see that Disney works to be a family brand, and I think the other studios should do this. Now, also Disney has an unfair advantage, you could argue, because they have a resort to invite them to, right? But this is why I continue to think that Warner Brothers, I'm sorry they don't have their own theme parks, and I'm sure it would be wonderful if they did. But Warner Brothers, if they want to make up some ground, I think they should continue to partner with Universal like they did with Harry Potter Land, open a DC land, and then invite moms to the Universal resort and have this kind of event. Disney does this stuff very openly, and I don't understand. We're going to talk about something else, Warner Brothers trying to maybe how they could have copied Disney for the viewer question. But I think that as much as Disney is full of win, they earn it. They have very clever, savvy plans that they execute brilliantly, and they continue to. They create formulas and they follow them. And I think that I don't understand. It continues to boggle my mind when the other studios don't do the same. So I think that's very interesting. And when you get a family to see your movie, that's 4 tickets in each household, or at least sometimes even more. And so I think that Disney is very smart to go after that group because the returns are huge. All right, so that's the second story of the day, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts about that down below. Now, the third, yesterday they released an image for Brainiac on Sci-Fi's show Krypton that's coming up. And I tweeted about it, and I said, this looks great. Brainiac on Sci-Fi's Krypton. But it's really frustrating to see this on the small screen when Brainiac would make a great movie villain, right? And DC continues, I tweeted, to cannibalize and sabotage itself. And so I'm bringing it up today in Morning Movie News because I wanted to follow up on that tweet. Many of you agreed with me and said you wanted him for Man of Steel 2. I think that would have been great. But a couple of you had some counterpoints that I wanted to address. And they were good counterpoints, but let me counter you. All right, so somebody said it would be ridiculous if a villain like Brainiac could be defeated in a single movie. Well, you don't have to defeat him in a single movie. I mean, they're building a cinematic universe. Why not have it stretch out over multiple movies like Thanos was supposed to? I mean, instead of doing Darkseid, which is a Thanos, ripoff, I forget which way it is, but it's like saying Deadpool is a ripoff of Deathstroke. Tomato, basically. And when you're dealing with audiences that are seeing, whoever gets the big screen first. It's like a lot of people said, oh, John Carter came before Superman and Star Wars. It was the original. Nobody cares. By the time it got to the big screen, everyone said, oh, I like Superman and Star Wars better. It's a race to who can get to the bigger audience first, right? And Thanos got there first, and so Darkseid is just Thanos Light. It's the Pepsi to Thanos' Coke. So Brainiac, I think, would have been a much more interesting way to go. And he could have been a main villain in a movie, and he's not totally defeated. He lives to fight another day. So I think it would work wonderfully. Now, some also said, well, hey, he'll grow in popularity on the TV show, and then he'll level up. Well, first off, I don't have high hopes for Krypton. But also, I think that when you have multiple versions of a character on different mediums, it dilutes the strength of the overall brand. I just think it's a bad idea. I think as much as I love Gotham, I think it undercuts the Batman movies, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's a mistake. I mean, look over at Marvel. No overlaps. And on the rare occasions they do, like when S.H.I.E.L.D. got a TV show, it seemed like a reward when it was first announced, right? But boy, Clark Gregg's like, this didn't turn out so hot. I mean, it faded from the movies pretty quickly until it was disbanded in the films. Clark Gregg never showed up again in a Marvel movie and never will. And Nick Fury had to go rogue, basically, and get out of S.H.I.E.L.D. to stay there. I guess it'll obviously be in the Captain Marvel movie, which takes place in the 90s. I hope maybe Clark Gregg does get like a little cameo. That would be, or someone plays a younger Agent Coulson. That would be, I don't know how Clark Gregg would feel about that. But, you can see what happened to S.H.I.E.L.D., basically, is my point. I think they should divide up brands within DC, just like Marvel did. Marvel sent their Marvel Knights brand to Netflix, and that really made a lot of sense. I like the idea of Teen Titans, or the Titans going to the streaming service, but you create problems in the fact that, Cyborg got leveled up to Justice League, but he's really an integral member of the Titans. Nightwing, they're trying to give him a movie, but then he's also going to be on the streaming service show. And if God forbid, the streaming service show doesn't get it right, then the character's tainted. And if they do get it right, then everybody says, well, I like the one on TV better. Like, look what poor Ezra Miller has to deal with Grant Gustin over on the CW. It's just not good. I think, and also at this point, movies should be the top priority for DC. I'd be like, why are we putting all this effort into TV? I mean, I know they're doing very well in television. It's one of their few bright spots right now. But movies are where the real money is these days, and they also drive the entire brand, image-wise, and not just monetarily, in terms of how the general public thinks about it. So no matter what DC accomplishes in different size screens, people will still go, yeah, but the movies are an absolute mess, and that's not good. So I think this is a huge mistake, and it's really frustrating me by the fact that Brainiac looks so damn good. All right, so those are the 3 stories of the day, and I have a viewer question from KJ, and this was a great viewer question. So KJ says, hi, Grace. Will Jason Momoa get the same respect, just like Black Panther, as he is from Honolulu, Hawaii? So basically the idea is, well, everyone's making such a wonderful big deal about Black Panther celebrating African culture. Will Aquaman get the same respect because, hey, it made a Pacific Islander basically stand in for Atlantis? Kind of. Nicole Kidman, actually Atlantis is going to be super white, and the Queen had an affair with a Pacific Islander, and that's how you get Aquaman. So I think they should have not done that. I think I would have made all the Atlanteans Pacific Islanders, but that's what they decided. So let me tell you why this isn't going to be what happens, but why it would have been a good idea. But and it's too late for DC to switch and try and engineer this. So the first problem is that James Wan is just not that type of filmmaker. And that's okay. He's a fabulous filmmaker. I really like James Wan. There's a rumor that they tested Aquaman the other day and it tested very well. I don't know. I think I take all of that stuff with a huge grain of salt. But I do have tremendous faith in James Wan. But anyway, it doesn't have to be like Black Panther to be a successful movie. It could still do quite well. But anyway, the other problem is, in addition to James Wan not being that type of filmmaker, he's not a political filmmaker. I mean, I think it just wouldn't even occur to him to try and do this. Jason Momoa is just not that type of actor. I think he, the talent in Black Panther was prestige talent, or largely or unknown. Jason Momoa is very well known for doing like C-level material. Same for Amber Heard, and then that's the other reason I had a problem staking Joe Manganiello in the DCEU. Once you bring on that type of actor, it's very hard for the media and critics, especially like old school media and critics, to take the work seriously. So you just can't bring yourself down like that. I think it's not a good idea. It's like, Dwayne Johnson, I think, has, broken free from his wrestling past, but still John Cena is very much a wrestler who acts instead of an actor who used to wrestle. And so image is very important, and I don't think the DCEU is cognizant enough of that. Now, with Atlantis, I think, again, it would have been great to really make it based largely on Hawaiian culture like Moana. I think that would have been a really brilliant idea, and something I think was a next step that didn't occur to any of us, even though we were like, making Aquaman a Pacific Islander is a brilliant idea, and that credit should go to Zack Snyder. That was a very smart thing to do. And unfortunately, there was not a lot of talent available to him to cast in the role. I looked it up. Pacific Islander actors, there are very few of them. Most of the established ones are older, and they are, to be fair, cast in Aquaman. And also, James Cameron is also using some Pacific Islander actors as well with his upcoming Avatar movies, if they ever actually get made. But again, I think that they put all the Pacific Islanders on land and made all the Atlanteans Caucasian, which again, it makes no sense when you think about it. So Jason Momoa was really the only well-known Pacific Islander actor besides Dwayne Johnson. And Dwayne Johnson, he doesn't look particularly, aerodynamic to go in the water, right? I think he'd sink like a rock. But so I think Zack Snyder said, well, Jason Momoa is the only name I can get. I wish he'd had the strength and the guts to go after a newcomer and cast a newcomer in the role and build him up in the films, just like they did with Chadwick Boseman. Not a total newcomer, but not very well established, not a very good box office track record, but a very talented actor. And they built Black Panther up in Civil War, and then they launched him in his own movie. So, of course, Justice League would have had to have been a better movie, but get a new actor for Aquaman, establish him there, and then spin him off into this beautiful celebration of Pacific Islander culture, like Moana was. So that's what they should have done. And I think that, to be fair, no one had done this before Black Panther, so that's why it didn't occur to them. But it's a shame that it didn't. I mean, they must have known that Black Panther was on the board, and then since they've already made the change, the change of the ethnicity of the character to Jason Momoa, or to a Pacific Islander, it should have been another one. They should have gone all the way. And so that those half steps continue to be a frustrating aspect of the DCEU. So to answer your question, KJ, that's why it won't happen, but it could have. The door was opened. And I think that it's tough because you want to give credits for opening the door, but then you have to take points away for not having the foresight to actually step through it. So I'm curious, what do you think? That's a very interesting last question. Anyway, write your thoughts down below about today's top 3 stories, KJ's viewer question, anything you'd like to see covered tomorrow, and of course, any questions that you might have. Thanks for watching. Bye.